The mystery of the old mansion. A group of friends, Anna, Maxim, Olya, and Sergey, were always looking for adventure. This time, their attention was drawn to an old mansion on the outskirts of the city, about which eerie rumors circulated. It was said that a tragedy had occurred there many years ago, the disappearance of one of its residents, which remained unsolved to this day. Intrigued, they decided to spend the night in this ominous place. When the friends arrived at the mansion, the moonlight illuminated its gray walls, covered in moss. The door creaked as though it didn't want to let in new visitors. "This is going to be an unforgettable night," exclaimed Anna, and they entered. Inside, it was cold and dark. Dusty old items and cobweb-filled corners created an atmosphere of abandonment. They began exploring the rooms, filling the silence with laughter and jokes. But with each step, their amusement became increasingly nervous. In one of the rooms, they found an old chest. Maxim, who was always the most curious, opened it. Inside were scattered items, old clothes, photographs, and a diary. It was worn, but the cover caught their attention. "Let's read it," suggested Olya, and they sat on the floor, forming a circle. Maxim opened the diary and began reading aloud. It was Emma's diary, a young woman who had lived in the mansion over 100 years ago. The first entries described her everyday life, but soon the tone changed. Emma wrote about strange sounds she heard at night and how some neighbors avoided the mansion. With each page, it became clearer. Something terrible had happened. She mentioned someone who came at night, noted Sergey, looking at his friends. Who could it have been? Maxim continued reading. The last entries were especially troubling. Emma wrote about being stalked and feeling that her life was in danger. In the final entry, she left a mysterious message. Eternity knows who is guilty. The friends exchanged glances, a sense of unease enveloping them. "We need to find out what happened to Emma," suggested Anna, and they decided to investigate the mansion further. They climbed to the second floor and started examining the rooms. In one of them, they found an old wardrobe that made strange noises. Sergey, showing his courage, opened it and suddenly saw a small hidden door behind the wardrobe. Their hearts raced, and they decided to enter. Inside was a narrow staircase leading to the basement. They cautiously descended and soon found themselves in a dark, damp room. In the corner stood an old table, covered with forgotten items, books, papers, and something shiny. "What's this?" asked Olya, stepping closer. It was a ring with an unusual pattern. The initials E were engraved on it. "This is her ring," Anna exclaimed. "But how did it end up here?" Suddenly, Maxim noticed something else in the room, a photograph of Emma surrounded by her family. In the background were faces they had never seen. "Look, this might help us understand what happened," he said. Then their attention was drawn to one figure in the photo, a person with a mysterious smile. Gathering their thoughts, they decided that they needed to take the ring and the diary back to the city to uncover the truth about what happened to Emma. But at that moment, a crackling sound echoed. They turned and saw a figure in the shadows. Their hearts raced, but this time they were ready for whatever awaited them. The figure stepped forward. It was their acquaintance, the one who loved telling old legends. "What are you doing here?" His voice sounded threatening. "We know what happened to Emma." Maxim shouted. "You shouldn't have come here," the guy replied, clearly disturbed. He explained that his family had been guarding this secret for generations, and now they could become the next victims. Tension hung in the air. "I just wanted to protect her memory," the guy said, and with those words, he vanished into the darkness, leaving the friends in complete confusion. Now, they understood that the mansion held not only the past, but also a threat. Every step could lead to unpredictable consequences. Cautiously, they decided to leave the basement, but as they reached the hallway, They heard footsteps. Someone was following them. At the same time, Olya found the precious diary in her hands. She noticed that one of the pages had numbers, like a code. Maybe this is the key to the mystery, she suggested. Full of determination, they returned to the diary and began deciphering it. They found a clue leading to an old library in the city, where they could learn more about Emma's fate and her family. But as soon as they left the basement, they realized that something dreadful was waiting for them. Someone was watching them. And just when they were almost at the exit, a sound broke the silence. The friends stopped, turned around, and saw that same figure from the photograph. It approached them, and to their horror, they recognized it. It was Emma's brother, who had disappeared along with her. "You shouldn't have known the truth," he said, and their world began to change. Now, the friends found themselves trapped not only in the ancient mansion, but also in a web of mystery that tied them to the past. Now they had to figure out who was truly responsible for Emma's disappearance, and how their own fates were intertwined with her tragedy. Each of their lives depended on whether they could solve the riddle that had haunted this place for centuries.